Fooly Cooly, also known as FLCL, is an amazing anime, but it's one that doesn't get a lot of credit, even from its biggest fans. You see, a lot of people consider Fooly Cooly to be just a ridiculous show where a bunch of animators got together to flex their animation skills. And while the show definitely is that, I mean, it has some of the craziest Sakuga animation I've seen in an anime. But it's not just that. Fooly Cooly actually has a ton of deep thought and themes all within the show. Clearly the staff making it had a lot of ideas put into it. So because of that, it was actually pretty hard for me to figure out what I wanted to talk about for this video. There are a lot of deep themes in Fooly Cooly, but I decided to go with one that is actually pretty apparent. I think it's one that a lot of people walk away with when they finish the show. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the pressures of youth and stagnation and how it's represented in Fooly Cooly. It seems like whenever people reminisce about their childhood, they're always looking at it with rose-tinted glasses. They're always talking about how carefree it was and how they could do whatever they wanted because nobody expected anything from them. And oftentimes people talk about abandoning their adult lives to get rid of all of their obligations and just spend time having fun again. But the thing is, no matter how fun my childhood was, and no matter how many fond memories I made, I can't remember a time where there wasn't any expectations being forced on me by my school, my parents, my town, just society itself. I never remember a time when I wasn't being pressured to be doing something. And it seems like that's really what Fooly Cooly is about at its base level. Fooly Cooly is a show that is very bright-colored, chaotic, fast-paced, and really fun on the surface level. But when you get moderately deep in it, you see the show is all about a young boy and all of the pressures in his life and how he struggles to deal with everything coming at him. To refresh your memory, let me tell you a base summary of what Fooly Cooly was all about. Fooly Cooly is all about a middle school student named Nauta, whose older brother had just moved away to America to play baseball. And with his older brother being gone, Nauta feels like it's his responsibility to look after all of the things that his older brother used to take care of. So Nauta leaves his older brother's stuff exactly how he had it, to keep it in perfect condition. Nauta even joins the local baseball team to be just like his brother. Not only that, but Nauta is constantly hanging out with his older brother's ex-girlfriend, Mamimi, who is very clingy as her life was basically turned upside down after her boyfriend left. Nauta is constantly having to look after all of these things without his brother, and so in many ways, this causes a ton of pressure in his life. He feels obligated to be looking after all of these things, and it causes him to feel so stressed that he could overflow. Now, in real life, when someone's in these kinds of positions, when they feel like they have too much on their plate and they just want to get away from it all, sometimes people will fantasize about some sort of force of nature or person coming into their life and just changing everything for them, turning everything upside down and changing their life for the better. Now, normally in real life, this is just a fantasy, but in Fooly Cooly, this manifests for Nauta in the form of Haruko. So, Haruko came into Nauta's life because she sensed some sort of potential in him. Of course, because this is Fooly Cooly, it's going to be something crazy. So what potential was this? Well, it was Nauta's potential to open a giant portal from his forehead and release all kinds of treasures, most of which are giant robots that they fight on a daily basis. And yeah, it gets pretty crazy from there. Before Nauta met Haruko, his life was beginning to stagnate. He was feeling like he had to just go through with his daily pressures and felt like he was being dragged under in this town where nothing ever happens. But then Haruko shows up, hits him with her moped, and suddenly his life goes from 0 to 100 real quick. And this is where a lot of the themes of childhood pressures come in. So what is it that Nauta is being expected to do, and how do these pressures connect to real life? Well, in Fooly Cooly, Nauta is being expected to basically be his brother. He's expected to grow up faster than he is able to, and this puts a ton of pressure on him. And a lot of this pressure is applied by Mamimi, Nauta's brother's ex-girlfriend. You see, when Nauta's brother left for America, this completely crushed Mamimi. She was fully in love with his older brother, and a lot of it was because of the way that he made her feel. And now that he's gone, she's constantly craving this feeling, and the way she satisfies her craving is to latch onto the closest thing to his older brother, which would be his younger brother, Nauta. And so Mamimi is constantly clinging onto Nauta, constantly spending time with him and influencing him to not go to school and do all of these things. And she also gives him the nickname that she gave his older brother. She calls him Takun, because the more that she treats him like his older brother, the more he'll become his older brother. And because that's an unrealistic thing to expect on someone, especially a middle schooler, it puts a ton of pressure on Nauta, and it makes things very complicated for him. Now, how can this be connected to real life? Well, there are many very specific situations that it can be connected to, but one that's much more all-encompassing that a lot of kids could relate to would be the feeling of always having to work for your future, having to constantly be getting good grades, working hard to be this hypothetically amazing student, to get all these good grades, to get yourself into a good school and have a good future. It's as if your parents have already planned out your entire life for you, and all you have to do is work towards their expectations. Now, having to deal with these kinds of expectations can have a lot of bad effects on the people dealing with it. It can cause kids to feel mad at themselves because they can't be this perfect image of who they are supposed to be. It can make them feel like they're a failure or a disappointment, and it can make them feel very hopeless. It can also make them feel very pressured and angry and build up into a certain outburst, which is where this can be related again to Fooly Cooly, where Nauta is constantly feeling like he's being pressured to be his older brother, and this culminates in the scene that I'm actually drawing right now, where Mamimi is in trouble and she calls out the name of Nauta's older brother, and Nauta is there ready to save her, and he feels mad and offended that she would call out for his brother, and he yells like why am I not good enough, and like, my name is Nauta, don't forget it. And this is an important thing to remember, that you are your own person, and you shouldn't have to let other people's expectations dictate who you want to be. You should just work to be the best you can be and not try to be someone else, because that's just unrealistic. Okay, so finally, I want to talk about stagnation. Stagnation is basically the feeling of doing so much but getting nowhere. And in Fooly Cooly, that is basically expressed through Nauta feeling like he lives in a town where nothing ever happens. You know, he's doing all these things to be like his older brother, but nothing ever comes of it, nothing ever changes, and everything stays the same. And in Fooly Cooly, the way this is resolved, and the way change and influence comes, is through Haruko, who, as I mentioned earlier, comes in and completely offsets the status quo. Haruko is a force that comes in, and while not intentionally, she teaches Nauta to be his own person and to do the things that he wants to do. Now, how does this connect to real life? Well, if you're someone who feels like you're constantly working towards something, but it's never feeling obtainable. For example, me with my drawing. Constantly working, but I never feel like I'm improving. I always feel like I'm just the same. Sometimes you'll just wish that something will happen, or someone will come into your life and just change these things for you, you know? But in real life, that's kind of unrealistic to expect. In real life, people don't just come into your life and change it for the better. You have to be proactive and change things yourself. And I'm gonna be honest, this may sound like a cop-out, out of left field answer or conclusion, but I'm gonna be honest, it's 5 a.m. and I have no idea what I'm talking about. Which is a pretty good way to close off this video. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, give it a like. If you didn't like this video, too bad. And if you want to see more, then subscribe. I have pictures on Instagram and Twitter and Tumblr, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.